Hello, everybody. Hello. It's, let's see, Wednesday, April 16th, 2023. And I'm trying to be happy here, but we have I love being on with Judge Napolitano. Before I went on the air, I was telling the judge how heartbroken I am. I publish a weekly magazine, the Trends Journal, and I have to write about all the horrors going on in the world. And it's really getting to me to see what's going on and how so few people like myself, the judge, Scott Ritter, Colonel Douglas McGregor, and others are fighting against the tyranny that's destroying our lives, and so few other people are doing it. And there's no man that knows the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and what it used to mean and how we've lost it than Judge Andrew Napolitano. Judge, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Gerald. And I share the same gloom and doom that you have. Donald Trump is thumbing his nose at the rule of law, giving the judiciary the middle finger, doesn't care about civil liberties or free speech or due process, continues to fund slaughter and genocide in Gaza, continues to fund slaughter in Ukraine, claims that Ukraine is Joe Biden's war and not his, even though he's given over $1 billion since he took office. Remember, the legislation that authorizes these funds, and Joe Biden gave about $165 billion. The legislation is all subject to the discretion of the president, both to Gaza and to Kyiv. Donald Trump could turn off both spigots with a phone call. Both wars would be over. The one in Gaza in about 48 hours, the one in Ukraine in about 2 weeks. He doesn't choose to end either war. He's not a man of peace. In some respects, he's worse than Joe Biden. At least Biden told you where he was. He wasn't pretending to be something other than what he was.
He wasn't pretending to be the criminal that he wasn't.
Right. He was pretending to be president of the United States.
Yeah. He's pretending to be alive.
God knows what decisions that we thought he made. It may have been made by somebody else. Historians will have to delve into that.
Historians, they rewrite history the way they want.
Correct.
I've been thinking, by the way, I was thinking about that now. We are on the verge of nuclear annihilation. As I see,
we are very close. If you ask Ritter and McGregor, very close.
And when talking about the Iran war that's going to happen, when we were on last week and they were talking about this guy Witkoff or Jerkoff, whatever his name is, going over there to talk to Iran about a peace deal. And I said, that's a lot of baloney. This is a front, just like they sold the lie that there was a ceasefire deal with the Ukraine war. Remember that? That was a couple of weeks ago,
right?
A month ago. Oh, there's a ceasefire deal. There's going to be a ceasefire. There's no ceasefire. It just keeps escalating. I said they're going to do the same thing now, and then they're going to blame Iran. And there's a thing called a Samson option, SAMSON, that if Israel is losing, they go nuclear. Anybody could look it up. The facts are right there. And Israel has between 200 to 400 nuclear warheads. Hey, Israel is allowed to have nuclear weapons. Nobody else is. Oh, no, we're the chosen people, You save your crap.
Why doesn't anybody raise that? I ran a clip on my show. It aggravated me to watch it, but the public needed to see it, of my former Fox colleague and now pretending to be the Secretary of Defense, condemning Iran, saying they absolutely can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. He was on with Maria Bartiromo. Maria, they can't have a nuclear weapon. And if the negotiations don't work out well, then my department will handle it. So, A, he's threatening to kill people if they don't sit down and negotiate. And B, why didn't you say to him, well, Pete, why is it that the Israelis are allowed to have a nuclear weapon? No one will ask that.
No.
Because no one in the government is allowed to answer it truthfully.
And again, look at the clown show. They're called the media. They're prostitutes. They're media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and government whoremasters. End of story. Not one person in the mainstream media is allowed to be on talking about peace. Nope, not allowed to talk about it. Oh, Judge, you have an article coming out. You talk about Easter. Oh, Easter? Oh, the Prince of Peace? Where are all these religions? What, they all got lockjaw? How come they're not out there for the Prince of Peace? Here, this was the cover of your Trends Journal magazine back in 2011. You see it?
Yes, that's brilliant.
Nothing has changed. Oh, what happened? After Christ drove the money changers out of the temple, the Goldman Sachs gang, the Merrill Lynch mob. Oh, yeah, after he drove him out 3 days later, whoa, he's on the cross, right?
Right.
You don't screw with the banksters. We'll kill you. Look what's going on. I said to you, I'm really very depressed about what's going on. An article in this week's Trends Journal about how people are defaulting on their credit cards. You're a little late in your payment on your credit card. What do they charge you? 23% average. 23% average of a fine. You got to pay more. 23%. If it was the mafia, if it was the Italians, they call it the mafia.
I don't think the mafia even charges that much. 23% is outrageous.
It's outrageous. It's a criminal gang running this country. And that's what your article is about. Again, without getting into the religious aspect of it, about the criminal gang that was running the country before we had a revolution.
Now we're back to that criminal gang again. Many of the very things that Jefferson complained about in the Declaration of Independence, the king imposing taxes without the consent of Parliament. Okay, Donald, where did you get the authority to impose a sales tax? The king taking people to foreign countries where courts can't reach them. We're seeing these things repeated right before our very eyes, Gerald.
I know. What's going on now, what they're doing to these poor kids, young kids, sending them to these jails in Louisiana and everything, deporting them?
They arrested a guy. Guy's been a permanent resident for 10 years. Again, another grad student. Made an appointment with the Immigration and Naturalization Service, his first of several appointments, to become a United States citizen. They waited until he got to the head of the line. It was time for his appointment. They showed up with shackles and masks on and arrested him right then and there. He's in Louisiana because he spoke out in favor of a Palestinian state, because he exercised the freedom of speech, which just happens to coincide with the public policy of the United States State Department since 1948. Not the actual policy of the United States State Department, but the publicly stated policy. It's just reprehensible what's going on today. One of my guests today, Aaron Mate, is going to talk about how ICE is condemning ideas. They're going around the country looking for people that oppose the Zionist mandate. And if they're not American citizens, they get arrested and deported like that with no hearing. Even though the Supreme Court just ruled unanimously, you want to deport somebody, they're entitled to a hearing.
Well, what did Trump say? That even American people should be deported.
Correct. And that is about the most dangerous statement that any president has ever made.
He said that. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? You come out against genocide. You're called an anti-Semite, and we'll arrest you. Where is the outrage? Again, this is Easter time. Where are all these religions? What are the Seventh-day Adventists waiting for the eighth day? Where are all the religions? Why aren't they coming out and saying, stop this massacre, stop these wars? Where are they?
Because many of them, not Islam, are funded by the Zionists and they have obviously put strings on those financings, just like they have to 90% of the members of the Congress.
Now, what did Thomas Massey say about that?
Thomas Massey, Congressman Massey of Kentucky, who was a paradigm of fidelity to the Constitution, revealed that just about every member of the House of Representatives has their own AIPAC agent, a person assigned to that office. Some actually work in the office, some just check in a couple of times a week, just to make sure that the congressperson is reminded, we can bring a lot of money to you if you vote the way we want, and we can really harm you if you don't vote the way we want. Massey, of course, told this person who knocked on his door to go take a hike, as did Senator Rand Paul in the Senate.
2 people.
2 out of 535.
Yeah. And again, let's make this really clear. By the way, everybody, you got to go to Judging Freedom. And the judge has on there, people that are saying things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And one of them is Max Blumenthal. And he put out an article last week about AIPAC and how they had a conference and what the guy was saying about the power that they have and how control that they have.
Yes. Max will be on with me tomorrow to discuss that article.
Yeah. And again, let's make this 1,000% clear. Zionism has nothing to do with religion. It was a political movement.
Correct. It's a political movement to dominate and control the Middle East. And the United States has been funding that dominance, and the funds have been used to kill people, to slaughter them on the basis of where they live and where their ancestors are from and what their religion is. In the United States of America, every president from Harry S. Truman to Donald Trump has funded this slaughter, some holding their nose, but all have done so.
Yeah. Now I'm telling you, I'm heartbroken. I see this. I mean, could you imagine? Everybody listening, could you imagine wherever you're living, your whole neighborhood, your whole area, everywhere around you, bombed to ruins. Bombed to ruins. You're sleeping in a tent and they're bombing you there too, telling you to go over here, go over there, get out of here, go over there. They're taking over the whole area. Could you imagine if that was your life?
I can't imagine it, but innocent human beings are going through all of this. The Palestinian health people record that they have buried 55,000 people, about 2/3 women and children. The Lancet magazine says that's about a quarter of those who've actually been killed. The rest of the bodies haven't been found yet.
Yeah.
They're still under the rubble. These numbers are staggering. Buried 55,000 people. Yankee Stadium only sits 45,000. These are staggering numbers. And what does the United States do? Continues to fund it.
I did a podcast last night, and I held up the covers of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. Like last week, a couple of people died in a helicopter crashed in the Hudson River. Big story. They were big investors in one of the financial firms. I got to hear about 4 or 5 people dying in a helicopter crash. Your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, anybody dies, who gives a damn? Oh, but these were important people. They died in a helicopter crash. Big picture. How about putting a big picture on the front page of the New York Times of the slaughter? Oh, just before we went on the air, 35 were killed last night in Gaza by Israel. In the trench.
How about the execution? The execution style murder 2 weeks ago of 15 UN healthcare workers shot in the head, one after another. So 14 of them watched one be executed. 13 watched the next, right down until they had murdered all 15. The Israelis said it was an accident. It turned out one of the murdered towards the end of this group was buried with his cell phone. Because the Israelis always, after they kill you, they steal your cell phone. The public should know that. So after they extracted this body from a shallow grave, they turned on the cell phone, and there was a video of the executions in utter defiance of the Israeli claims that it was an accident, showing how intentional it was. Was anybody prosecuted or punished for this? Of course not.
No. And again, it doesn't make the front page of the papers, or they barely report it.
Right.
Again, what you write over here, you said, that like those colonists who fought the oppression of the king, we the living can achieve our hopes only if we have freedom, you write. And that requires more than faith and hope and good works. It requires a government that protects freedom, not one that assaults it. America today is divided and fearful. The government is broke, overbearing, lawless, and unworthy of belief. It threatens World War III, has produced wild inflation, destroyed happiness, and refuses to obey its own laws.
That's the government today. And what do we do about it? You and I talk about it. You and I condemn it. Others that are friends and collaborators with us do the same, but not mainstream media. And the public just sort of amiably goes along. There was quite occasionally the reaction on the public causes the government to change its mind, but very, very rarely.
Again,
very rarely.
What you just wrote is that when I said to you how depressed I am to see what's going on.
It made you feel worse?
Action. What?
It made you feel worse?
No, it's exactly the way I felt. What you wrote is exactly the way I felt, or I feel. And again, where are the religions? It's Easter time. Where are the religions?
They're silent. The Pope is silent. I don't know what Protestant leaders there are. The Archbishop of Canterbury, maybe he's silent. Even the Jewish rabbis who oppose Netanyahu, who oppose Zionism, there are many Jews that oppose Zionism. They're silent. Nobody except for us is speaking out about this.
I know. And, I got to tell you, too, I talk to a lot of friends and stuff, and this is what I hear all the time. I can't watch this anymore. I tuned out. It bothers me. I can't take it anymore. And they're tuning out. They don't want to face the facts or do anything. And that's how world wars start. And when this world war starts, it will be finished. It'll be the end of life on Earth. It'll be nuclear annihilation if the people don't stand up and do something. So, Judge, thank you very much for being on. Thank you for all that you do. And everybody, you need to go to watch Judging Freedom. With Judge Andrew Napolitano, this man knows the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the freedom that we used to have, the freedom that we lost, and the people that he brings on are fighting for it as well. United we stand, divided we die. So in the spirit of Easter, let's live and do something, if you believe or don't believe, in the Prince of Peace. It's not about a religious movement. Peace has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with the human soul. And we need peace on earth, or else it's going to be hell on earth. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Gerald, and happy Easter to you, my dear friend.